get rolling right along. Okay?
Great.
So we are excited to have Kathy with us today. This is Kathy McDougall from the AARP, and I'm not sure you can tell a little bit about yourself, Kathy. And she's going to talk to us about frauds and abuse. So
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Pat.
Yes, thank you.
I really appreciate the invitation to speak to such a great group today, and I'm here to talk about the tips that con artists use to defraud you, and some of the tips that you can use to protect yourself, and some of the tricks that they use to try to steal your money. So, like Pat said, I'm Kathy McDougall, and I'm the Director of Outreach for AARP Idaho. And so we do these kinds of presentations all over the state, and I think that the more and more we can get the information out there, the more and more you can protect yourself. So I am very happy to be here today. I will tell you the people that are not happy that I'm here today, and it's the con criminals. They are not happy that you are here to learn what I'm about to teach you today. These criminals wake up every single day trying to come up with ways to rob you of every penny you've earned while making a living. And some of them succeed at that. Some of them succeed in robbing you of a couple of hundred. Some of them succeed in robbing you of your entire 401k. So they're really good, and I'm going to talk about the tricks that they use. But the good thing is, the more that you know, and the more that you share that you know, the weaker that they become. The more you keep quiet about it, the stronger they become. So keep that in mind about your power to try to protect yourself. So the first trick they use is they try to earn your trust. Okay, that's their first trick, is they try to get you to trust them. So who in your world is most likely to earn your trust? What kind of people do you trust in your world?
Nice, right?
Nice people, okay, nice people, that's one of their tricks, yeah, be nice. Who else? Family, you trust your family, yeah. Who else do you trust?
People you're with every day.
People you're with every day, that consistently show up in your life, absolutely.
And definitely friends.
Friends,
Yep.
absolutely. I think also like religious organizations, you tend to trust those leaders. People in authority, we generally trust law enforcement, we trust government agencies, things like that. But con criminals also become your trusted friends. So what are the things that they have to do, these people in your life, to earn your trust? Like you said, nice people, they're nice to you. What else do they do to earn your trust?
Lie to us.
They lie to you? Or they tell you if you're being lied to?
Hi, Grandpa.
Oh yeah, with that con, yeah, the grandparent scam.
And I think they engage you in talk. I mean, just
Yep.
kind of casual talk at first.
Absolutely.
Just kind of feel you out, I think, and see how, who you are and what you stand for.
Absolutely, they get to know you.
Oh,
How,
yeah.
how do they get your name? Because you get these phone calls all the time. Hi, Tom. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's called, they buy lists from other people, they have their ways of getting it.
We know you have a credit card balance. I go I don't have any balance. Sorry.
Yeah, they're very organized. Like I said, they spend.
But they
every
call you
day-
over and over and over and over. Same outfit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the more, and we'll talk about that, the more you engage, the more that they'll keep calling you. So it's like, but how else does someone earn your trust?
Follow through on something they say they'll do.
Yeah, they follow through. They have a consistent track record. They promise something, you know you can count on them. They have your back. Like I said, they ask questions, they listen to you, and a lot of times, and as you're out there, a lot of people are lonely, and so a lot of times they use these kinds of tactics because you're lonely, and it's like, I need someone that I need in my life to trust. So that's what they do. They also take their time. A lot of con criminals are not going to just immediately ask you to send $1,000. I mean, some of them do, but a lot of times they really, really build that trust. So you truly believe what they're saying. You trust them. Why would they be trying to get $3,000 out of your pocket? Because you trust them. And that's what they use. So they take their time till it's like rock solid. So the tips that we use is, of course, don't trust anybody. Trust but verify. We always say, do not trust anyone who's contacted you first. That is the ultimate element of these crimes. They always are the one, even if it doesn't seem like they contacted you first, when you go back, they're always the one that's initiating contact. So if you feel like you might be tempted to respond to something, always ask, did they contact me first? And because of this relationship, they're asking me for money to get something that is promised. Whatever it is that they find that you want, either like romance or better investment or to prevent like your grandchild from being in prison, something like that, it's always going to involve money. If you give them money, it's always going to involve more money because that money you sent is never going to be enough. It's never going to satisfy them. And then once you are in, you keep getting deeper and deeper. Please trust no one that pressures you, demands urgent responses. Those are all red flags. Also, on a different note, we talked about family. We trust family. They're part of our trusted network, but a lot of times those long-lost relatives show up, all of a sudden really interested in grandma's will or in grandma's bank account or grandpa's, like, you know, and then they just become this trusted relative who's there to try to get all of the inheritance. So also be aware of that. And so the bottom line is that the tip is have someone that you trust in that network we named looking out for you. Have someone who can be a sounding board if you are really tempted to respond to some sort of solicitation you got. Even if it's like something, I know someone that's always buying like never brush your teeth again mouth rinses, these like bone broth things that you never have to count your calories again. I mean, those kinds of things too. So if you have a trusted friend, even if it's like you'll get something in the mail, just have someone that you can lean on. The other tips, and this generation, he was saying that I don't remember those rotary phones. Well, I do, and I also remember we used to not hang up on people. Okay, so it's okay to be rude to these people. It is, just tell yourself that. These people, you do not even need to say hello to them. Enjoy hanging up or deleting any kind of email that you get from them. Do not engage with them. Like you said, if you're going to engage, they're going to put you on a list. He engages. He is someone that will talk to me. So if he will talk to me, therefore I can continue to talk to him. I can find something to engage him.
And I got a little smarter because now I know that it's a robocall because there's
Okay.
a pause between the time I answer and they
Good.
answer. So they're waiting, they're sitting there waiting for the next turn up, next guy up or whatever they do. But
Okay, yeah, but again, like if you engage even for 1 second, they're gonna A, record your voice, and B, they're gonna know, oh, this person likes to be smart, or this person likes to joke around, or this person blah, blah, blah. They will build this profile and they'll use that against you somehow. They will try to find the chink in your armor. So do not share any information about yourself at all, and you owe them absolutely nothing. You don't even owe them 1 second of your time. They are there to rob you of every dime you have. So just keep that in mind. The second trick is emotional manipulation. We always say that the better the con man, the better the story they have. They are able to create these worlds that become absolutely almost impossible not to believe them sometimes. Like the closest friends and relatives will say, this is a scam, and you believe this story that they have told you. And they also don't have to look like this anonymous con criminal. They can also be family members that come in, or caregivers can come in. And also do the emotional manipulation. And a lot of times when a caregiver, the person's very dependent on that person, the person being frauded are like, don't report them. I need this person in my life, but they're still robbing. So that's when you need to have someone that you trust take control of the finances, so they're not going to keep writing checks on to take that person's resources away. So with the trick of emotional manipulation, I'm going to make some statements, and if you were in this situation, you might pay attention to this if you get like an email or a call. So what would you do if with an extra $150,000 that I am authorized today to transfer to you? If you needed $150,000, you might be paying attention to that kind of pitch. You might catch your attention, like it's authorized, wow. And people do believe in this stuff. Here's a story of a woman. She was in Australia. She had a son with severe disabilities. She could not pay for his therapy, so she set up a GoFundMe page, and those are those pages where people solicit funds to help with some sort of cause. And then all of a sudden, Mackenzie Scott, who knows who Mackenzie Scott is by any chance? Who's Mackenzie Scott?
She's a philanthropist.
Yes. Yeah, she's the ex-wife of Jeff Bezos. They founded Amazon.
Oh.
And
She's
she's
been giving money away like crazy.
And she's been giving money away like crazy. She's one of the richest women in the entire world. So, and she was giving away money. So this person was like, oh my goodness, Mackenzie Scott wants to help fund this therapy. So she went online and saw it and saw that it was real. And so she's like, oh my goodness, this is too good to be true. And the catch is they contacted her first through GoFundMe, and secondly, they told her, we can't transfer it to your bank, you need to go through our bank. You need to set up your own account that we are directing you to, which of course the con criminal controlled, and you have to pay your taxes ahead of time. You have to pay these certain fees, and of course you have to give us all your personal information to get this grant. And then they tell her the stories. I said the better the con man, the better the story, that we can just reimburse you with the grant, all this money you're paying up front. And so she did all that, and did she get the therapy and the money for her son? No, she got completely robbed. And then they asked for more money to unlock those funds, so it's more taxes. And she just kept getting robbed, and she absolutely could not afford that, nor could her son. So, I mean, there's a lot of really heartbreaking stories that happen with these con criminals. So, another emotional manipulation, they might say, tell me about something missing in your life. You get a call. I'm all ears. So again, these are crimes for people who are lonely. They really do prey on people that are lonely. They're friendly. They become your best friend. They become that person that calls every day. They become the person that's watching out for you, and a lot of times we need that. And that happened to a woman here in Boise. She started talking to someone on social media, and they were like, tell me about your life. She was lonely. And she started talking about her 100-year-old home in Boise that really needed new siding, new windows, new carpet, and new paint. So she painted this picture of what she needed. And then guess what? A government grant for seniors who need home improvement came her way. And it was the same story as the woman with the son with disabilities. They contacted her first. They directed her to set up an account for the money outside of her own bank. She had to deposit all this money, and then they robbed her. So, I mean, those are the red flags. Like, no matter how much you need that siding, new carpet, new paint, if they're contacting you first and telling you to go outside of your bank, then it is a scam. It is absolutely a scam, and we'll talk about this, because I have a checklist of some of the things that they do. So, the tips to counter this is, again, please don't answer any questions. If they contact you, you do not need to give them any information. If it's a stranger, they're going to try to get you to trust them. Find an independent solution than the one that they're proposing. So if you really think that that grant is coming in from Mackenzie Scott, find a way to make it go through your own bank without you giving the information. Or ask your bank, I think I'm supposed to get a grant from Mackenzie Scott, but they're telling me to go to an outside account. How can we make it work for, whatever your bank is? And they'll probably tell you it's a scam, and they would really advise you not to. They're a trusted resource. And then again, speak to someone you trust before you act. They always say that if they have you on the phone or on email or on social media, and you're starting to answer the questions that they ask, they say scam you. But if you're the one asking the questions, if you're the one really saying this doesn't seem right, then they say that they have a harder time scamming you. And that's like from interviewing con criminals that have actually been caught. The law enforcement likes to interview them and see, how do we defeat you? So the next trick is they like to get to know you on social media. So what are some social media sites that they might target, where they might target you? Facebook, absolutely. What else? Instagram, yeah. Words with friends. Dating websites are huge. Like, I was in Ketchum for a fraud prevention event, and a guy on Local Flirt who really wants a girlfriend, his profile just says, I am a man, and he lost over $1 million because of how much he believed, that these women wanted him based upon that. So they use these to get you, they always contact you first on those. And then oftentimes if you're chatting with someone on Facebook or whatever, and you're enjoying it, then they will ask you to get off the platform and go to a more encrypted one that you won't be able to track on these other social media websites. Con criminals want you to post as much personal information as possible on those. They want the names of the dogs, the sons, the grandchildren, where you live, when you're going to be out of town, all of that. They want you to post as much because they can use that, like I said, to try to find your vulnerability and try to rob you. They also, who's heard of AI? Okay, what's AI? Perfect. Okay, so artificial intelligence, and I get these. They will text you, and it will say like, "Hey, this is Fred from. I'm here to cut your lawn tomorrow at 3:30." Okay, innocent. You might respond, "Fred, I don't know who you are, and I didn't hire you to cut my lawn." Then Fred, the AI chatbot, is going to knows he has a live one on the wire, and will start chatting with you. And if you're lonely, you might really enjoy talking to Fred about the lawn care, and it quickly evolves from that. So you don't have to respond to that. I didn't need to tell Fred that I didn't have a lawn appointment. Did he show up at 3:30? He did not, because it was just an AI kind of phishing attempt. So the tips to counter how they exploit you on social media, as we kind of said, limit your personal details, and then control your privacy settings to those you trust. And please, 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 please ignore messages from people you don't know. And I always like to say, no matter how cute they are, because how many times have people fallen for these romance scams by the cute doctor that contacted them, and they just couldn't believe it. Or in one case, like the Korean soap opera, he contacted this woman that was obsessed with this soap opera, and she just couldn't believe it, but he was messaging her on Facebook. So please ignore any of those messages. The police have said, there's an article, do you know how many people think that Elon Musk and Bill Gates are in love with him? They really do. And they, no matter how much the family's trying to tell them it's not true, they are addicted to those, the privilege of having Elon Musk being texting them, but asking them for money. Okay. But these stories are wacky, but they can get people to believe, like, oh, my accountant is controlling all my money, we can't let the media know about this, if you want to meet me because I'm in love with you, just send me $4,000 and I'll be there. And does Elon Musk ever show up at the Boise airport to meet? No, but women and men show up to meet some of these celebrities. So, the next trick is they find your vulnerability. So, do you know what kind of vulnerable people they're looking for? I'll show you. These are the vulnerable people they are looking for. It is you. And if you think you're not vulnerable, I'm going to prove it to you. So please raise your hand if you've ever done something stupid in your life. Okay. So does that mean we're a room full of stupid people? Like, no. But it means, like, think back when you were doing something stupid. You're like, how did I do that? How did I take that action? But you did. And it's even worse when you knew it was stupid. And what did you do? You kept doing it. Right. And that's like what they play off of. There's like some sort of thing that just for some second we're vulnerable to it. And they love to find that. And I like to, one thing I'd like to say is, like, scams are not the domain of greedy people or stupid people. A lot of times in the area of fraud, we're like, how can they be so stupid? Or how can they be so greedy? And that is not the case. This is international organized crime. And there's not a lot being done to stop it, honestly. You all are the front lines to stop it by being aware of their tricks that they use and sharing that information. The also thing about vulnerability is the older we get, the more, some of us experience cognitive changes. And do you think they're not preying on people with cognitive changes? They are. And research has shown, like, when older adults clicking on certain, like, misleading ads, a lot of times they're more vulnerable to fall for these misleading ads just in research settings. So we always like to ask, like, what is your vulnerability? And you don't have to, like, tell me what it is right now. And please don't tell the con criminals what it is, but just pay attention when you have a difficult time saying no to something. That might be your vulnerability. Or when you're super eager to say yes to something without really thinking about it. We all have that. Or when you're really just drawn to something, that also could indicate what your vulnerability is. So just pay attention to that, because they're going to try to find that and then try to hook you. So the tips to counter vulnerability is just, again, realize that all of us in this room are vulnerable to a scam. No matter how much we know, we are all vulnerable to something. But this checklist, like any of these things that happen, it's probably a scam. And we'll go over that. Also, if you're involved, again, I keep saying if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So trust your gut. Like, people that have been scammed, when they interview them, always say, my gut told me something was wrong. I knew it, my gut was saying that. Just listen to that, you're nodding. But, so just keep that in mind, trust your gut when it's really trying to tell you something. So, this woman, I was at a conference and she was in a romance scam, and the guy was supposed to come and she was all ready, and this was in Pennsylvania. And tried to meet him at the airport. Did he show up? He did not show up. She demanded to see him in prison, because that's why he didn't show up. He was in prison. And she's like, I want to go see him in prison. He's the love of my life. This was the cute doctor that Facebooked her. And they're like, oh no, he was transferred to Oklahoma, like the next day. That's why she couldn't meet him. There's always an excuse, and that's when her gut was like, wait a second. You know, he's not in Philadelphia anymore. He's in Oklahoma. That doesn't make any sense. They don't do that. So finally, that's what woke her up. So the next trick they use is they make those who are trustworthy feel untrustworthy. So think about your trusted network, and when someone's involved in a scam, like we said, it is really hard to kind of break that spell. Even law enforcement sometimes has a difficult time with it. Family members have a difficult time breaking that spell, so just be aware of that. And they also are going to coach this person to say, you're not going to get that $1 million that we're promising you if you tell your daughter. Like, you need absolute silence. Your daughter's going to be the one who's going to come and meddle in this ability for you to get $1 million. So don't trust her. Or they're going to say, when you're trying to remove your entire 401k, the bank fraud department is going to come and talk to you about that. So, but they're trying to stop you from getting what you want. So they'll coach you what to say to that person as well. So the tips to counter this, again, these are crimes of emotional manipulation. So this is a time when you ask them, like, what are you getting out of, if you know that they're involved in it, like, what does it mean for you? This is not a time to shame somebody or tell them that they're stupid. It's a time to communicate with dignity and respect. But again, I'm thinking about that guy in Ketchum who's $1 million in, like, with dating, like he wants a relationship. And that's when you talk to him about what a relationship means to him, not that you're stupid for believing in this kind of thing. Another tip that helps is asking them, like, so if you're involved in a scam, ask how you would help someone else in the same situation. And then they'll come up with ways that you might be able to break the spell for them. So just ask them what they would do if someone else was involved in this. But I keep telling stories, but there's so many stories out there because it's just so real. There was a guy who absolutely did not believe it was a scam. He was a doctor in Twin Falls. Again, $1 million in. He did not have any more money. He believed if he could come up with $50,000, he could unlock that $1 million. So he was asking AARP to come up with a fundraiser for him. And if you contributed to this fundraiser, when he got that $50,000, he would share the $1 million with you. And an absolute scam. He really did not believe it. He was going to that length to get that money unlocked that was stolen. So one of my last tricks is I use an effective playbook. So if we could just pass these around. I won't go over all of them. It's just one page front and back. But a lot of these things I covered. But again, if you, almost all of these crimes have these kinds of elements. So I'm not going to go through them, but just please review them. And if you're ever tempted, look and see if any of these things are happening to you, and then reach out to someone you trust, or please do not respond to the scam. So the last trick that I have is that they are going to count on you not to report the crime. That's their last trick. A lot of these crimes are absolutely underreported, and the reason why is I want to ask you, how does it feel to be scammed? Embarrassing. Absolutely. How else does it feel?
Well, devastating, because you've lost everything.
It's devastating, right. It's embarrassing, it's devastating. These are emotional crimes of shame. They make it feel like you cannot report it. The way I like to say it feels is go back to your childhood, think of when you did something wrong, and you didn't want to tell your parents about it. Like, that's kind of, I think, how people describe how they feel. Like, I cannot reveal this to anybody. It's too shameful for me. And again, they work and they just demand secrecy. They don't want you to talk to anybody about this. And that's also how they're able to get you not to report on this. But the issue with these crimes is, like, if we were to end this meeting and you were to walk outside and your car was stolen, would you report it? Would you report that? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you walk out, ladies, and your purse is missing, would you report that? But if someone steals your 401k, a lot of times that's not reported at first, because it's such an emotional crime. And so we ask, please talk about what's happening, realize these are crimes, you've done nothing wrong. Again, international organized crime, they are very, very good at it, that's their professional job. And please report it as soon as possible. The Boise Police Department has fraud investigators. They always say if you can report within 24 to 48 hours, they have a much higher chance of getting your money back. Unfortunately, after that, it's really hard. So just keep that in mind. It's a very small window. So the more you realize it might be a scam, if you're giving money or tempted to, please, as soon as possible, report that. So there's kind of a problem in the scam world about there's so many places to report. I think Boise Police is the first place to report it to. I think the Idaho Department of Finance also will help get you to the right person. And the Idaho Attorney General's office, they have a consumer protection agency. They will help you. Those are local resources. But the last thing I want to share with you, and I have these publications out here, is AARP has two publications called the Con Artist Playbook and the Fraud Watchdog Alert Handbook. And in here you'll find a phone number, and you can reach out to that phone number. It's a free service provided by AARP, and it's staffed by volunteers who are all mostly retired, and they are trained to talk to people who are involved in scams, or people who are tempted to maybe engage in one of these scams. And so it's a good resource, because a lot of times if you're involved in one, you don't want to tell your family. Like, that is just reality. You do not want to tell anybody you know, but you can tell them. They're not going to judge you, and they're going to help you, and oftentimes they can help you report it and try to lessen that shame, because they talk to, unfortunately, thousands of people they talk to. And so it's a great resource for you. So again, like the Fraud Watch Network helpline is in that publication. And the last thing I'll say is, like, AARP, how many people listen to podcasts by any chance? Do you listen to podcasts? Okay, good. So there's a podcast you can download called AARP's The Perfect Scam. And I think that's also referenced in these publications, but it's called The Perfect Scam. And if you want to learn more about their tactics and how they work, it's just, they interview people that have been involved in scams, like, believe me, the whole range of scams. And you learn more about it, and the more you know about it, the more you can also identify, like, these are the things they do. Like, for one example, I just listened to one about puppy scams. Did anyone know that would be a scam? Puppy scam. But if your dog died and you find the cutest puppy you've ever seen online, and you want that dog, and you start putting deposits down to get that dog, and then all of a sudden the shipping goes wrong, and all of a sudden they need to be vaccinated, and then all of a sudden they need to be withheld, and all of a sudden the dog got lost in the mail, and you keep spending money to get that dog you are in love with, you'll learn more about those kinds of scams and how they work. So, and I think the more you learn, the more you can see and identify them if they were to come your way. So that kind of concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Yes?
What happens with me is I'll find something. I was recently looking to buy a classic car.
Yeah.
And looking online, and found one that checked all the boxes. And so what I would, I reached out to them. Oh yeah, the car's still available. Well, where is it? And they, they respond. And I get to the point where I suspect, because of the price, that it's not a legitimate offer, that it is a scam. But, because it really interests me, I'm not willing to just accept that right off the bat.
Sure.
So their attitude was, well, okay, what we want you to do is we have an escrow account set up, so that's where the money would go. And then, once you receive the car, we'll ship the car to you. You have 7 days to approve it. Then you can ship it back if you don't like it. I mean, everything that you would want to hear. And I said, no, I don't send any money. I said, the only way this will work is if you tell me where the car is, I'll fly to that location, I'll drive it, pay for it, and ship it home.
Good,
That's the only way.
good, yeah,
You'd never hear from them again.
yeah,
And that's just, and sometimes I'll say, well, if that's not acceptable, then I'm gonna consider this a scam.
Yeah.
And shame on you, why don't you get a real job?
yeah, good.
And,
Great.
because it's sort of like, you wanna kinda hit back a little bit.
Yeah, I understand
But-
that, yeah.
Anyway,
But listen to everything he said, that was absolutely correct, because a lot of times you want that car so much, if you're looking for that perfect classic car and it's the right price, you might be really tempted. And what he said, you could ask, take a video of it, but do not give money until you have seen that. Don't give money to someone that you're in love with online until you have met them in person. Or until you have video chats and they can answer real questions and things like that, so, but you gotta see it with your own eyes.
Yeah, I wanna see it, touch it, drive
Yeah.
it, and that's that.
'Cause they're happy to take that as
We
well.
had I worked for years and years and years in the construction industry, and there was always a phrase that kind of circulated in the industry was, and it really applies to what you're sharing, but believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see.
Okay,
And, that just
yeah,
works.
yeah, and keep that always in top of mind, absolutely, yes.
Quick question.
Uh-huh.
If you get an email
Yeah.
and you know that it's ridiculous,
Mhm.
don't open it or just delete it. My kids, because of my age, don't touch it, but I have a just tendency to delete, I don't open them,
Okay.
delete, delete.
Sure.
They say by deleting it, you are showing somebody somewhere that you've at least noticed it.
Yeah, but again, if you don't open it, then you can't respond to their pitch, but yeah, they'll know if you opened it or deleted it.
Okay, so it's best just to leave it alone and it'll eventually fall through the cracks.
Yeah, cause then they know you don't engage, but if you open it
Thank you.
and all of that,
Can't you
so.
put it in spam?
You could put it in spam, you could report it as junk as well,
Yeah.
those are
Well,
other
they're
things.
telling me don't even do that because that triggers something. Just let it go, pretend like you never got it.
Yeah, and if it looks like it's from one of your kids, saying there's a scam where it comes from someone you know, and it says I need an Amazon card for some reason, don't respond to that, always call the number you trust. And I forgot to mention that, cause that's one of the most important things. Call the number you trust. Don't just look up on Google, if say for example your bank is Chase, don't just go and find the customer service number that comes up on Google, go into Chase and then find their customer service number to verify something. Call your daughter or your children to make sure that they really need an Amazon card,
Right.
so,
I remember years ago, I was told that if you answer the phone and you figure it's a scammer,
yeah,
you don't use the word yes.
okay,
You don't admit to being the person that they say that they're
Yeah.
calling,
Uh-huh.
even though they have the right name. Is that still true?
yeah, I would say that's good advice. You don't want them to know who you are, what your voice is. You don't need to verify who you are to these people. You can just be who's calling?
That's what I always, that's how I answer the phone. I don't even say hello.
Right.
I say, who's calling?
Right.
And
And if you're not expecting that call, then hang up, really. You don't need to give them the time of day, so.
Now I know why I can never get through to you, Bruce.
you don't know who you are?
You don't know who I am.
Because he's always getting that phone now. Yes.
I have a friend that a few years back, she's in her 90s, got a call.
Yeah.
And she played along with them and then said, okay, call me back tomorrow. So
They
they
did.
called back and she started talking and then she said, what's so-and-so's middle name?
Uh-huh,
A family member. Dead silence, click.
good, okay. Yeah, that's also good advice. You could have a challenge phrase. Has anyone heard of a challenge phrase? Between you and your loved one, so if the grandparent scam or the prison scam or whatever scam where a loved one's in prison somewhere and needs immediate attention, and they get all that information about your grandchild on Facebook, so you start believing almost everything, but they don't have the middle name. Have some sort of challenge phrase, this is really you, what's our challenge phrase? They'll never know it. And make sure it's something really strange, and please don't post that on Facebook, so.
I had a business partner who was approached by a realtor on the phone, and he said, I understand you have a condo in Mexico that you want to sell. Well, she did have, but she hadn't advertised it or anything. And he engaged her and she engaged him, and well, just send me a down payment, you know, and this was all, and I have to have money for paper, she got deeper and deeper in financially. And she'd say to him, and I heard the guy on the phone, he was the nicest, I mean, he was extremely intelligent, articulate, I mean, he was very
Must have
impressive.
been Dave.
Very, very impressive, and she kept saying, are you scamming me? Oh, of course not, why would you think that, we're
Right.
friends
We're
now.
friends, yeah.
And it was, I mean, she lost thousands
Yeah.
and thousands of
Oh,
dollars.
no.
And
Yeah.
still has her condo because it.
Yeah, she still has her condo and
Yeah.
lost trust, but going just that quick story, you can see all the elements. He contacted her first, he developed trust. She thought he found her vulnerability, she really wanted to get rid of that condo. She could see it, she could believe it, she could taste it. All she had to do was, pay this money for this man she trusted, and he kept robbing her.
Oh, yeah, that's just.
So what about these, ones where they apparently can get a hold of your deed of your house? And then there's all these ads on TV like, well, buy this insurance policy because if your house gets scammed and you give it away, we'll, help you or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know enough about those real estate deed scams. I do know that they happen. So, and sometimes that's with family members, that might also be able to do that. But yeah, I don't know much about that. If you want more information, I'd call the Attorney General's office. I think that they would address that.
Well, I don't worry about it.
Okay. But I'll look more into that one.
Oh,
Any other questions?
You know,
Uh-huh.
just thinking about one of the biggest scams that we're still recovering from are all the people that filed for financial assistance with COVID.
Yep.
And the billions of dollars that were paid out to non-deserving
Right.
people. I mean, to me, that was just one
Yeah.
humongous scam that should never have happened, but, they're trying to get it back, they'll never get it back.
Right. Yeah, they were like
Some
conning
of them- Yeah,
the government.
yeah,
Yeah, and the government was just like, here you go. We
whatever
don't-
you want.
Yeah, whatever you want. Yeah. So, and that's an unfortunate, situation. Yes.
Is there any cross-pollination with the VA? I find the VA doesn't always respond to some of the exposures we had out there.
Oh, sure, okay. Yeah, I don't know, I mean, I know a lot about the exposures of veterans, but I don't know how it's necessarily connected to the scam. They might, if you, they might act like they are the government trying to help you with the exposure, and you might, and then they can get you more benefits. That might be something that they would do. Yeah, but again, call someone you trust, ask for the VA social worker, the VA benefits counselor, and they can help you and let you know what you'd be eligible for, so.
But the outside literature says that radiation exposure can cause outbreaks. The VA doesn't accept that as a concept.
Okay, yeah, and that, I'm not sure what to do, all I say is call your member of Congress.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely, but going back to veteran scams, that's also, I didn't talk about charity scams, but a lot of times, and I know we're running out of time, charity scams is you are so devoted to helping veterans and you donate to a charity that might not be a charity, and then all of a sudden you've got 30 packets of, solicitations for veterans charities or some other cause, and some people they want to help, so they keep giving and giving and giving, so just keep that in mind too, so.
I think you'll find this interesting. I had a relative, and she used to, they'd call and she knew she was being scammed, so she'd say, honey, I'm lonely. Will you just spend time talking to me? And there'd be this silence and then click.
Oh, really?
It's like,
Okay.
I mean, it was like, they didn't want to talk to her. They were there to get the deal done and move on to the next, victim.
She got lucky
and
then.
she just said, so
She
she
got,
just said, scammer.
yeah, she got lucky. Would you like me to leave these things here, or how, I know it's a lot of materials, but you all can take them to friends or family, and.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.